Up next, we have Allison Ridgway, who is the Student Experience and Outreach Librarian at Trent University, and Ellen Olsen-Lynch, who is the Learning and Liaison Librarian at Trent University. And their session is entitled Streamlining Access, the Development and Implementation of the ACE Self-Declaration Form. Welcome.
Thank you. I will share my screen with you. So is it working? Is it being shared?
Yeah, it looks great.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. Oops, sorry. I will just briefly introduce myself. My name is Ellen Olsen-Lynch. My pronouns are she and her. My complexion is fair. I have red, brown, long, wavy hair, and I'm wearing glasses. And I'm a Learning and Liaison Librarian at Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. Allison.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is Allison Ridgway. My pronouns are they, them, or she, her. I'm the Student Experience and Outreach Librarian at Trent University. I am a white person with light colored skin, short curly brown hair, clear framed glasses, and brown eyes, and I'm wearing a black shirt with a blue, green, and red floral pattern. So we would like to start by respectfully acknowledging that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. This includes Curve Lake First Nation, Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. Trent University is on the treaty territory of Treaty 20 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. We offer our gratitude to the First Nations for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. We've included an image on this photograph that shows a group of people standing in a sunny forested area of Trent, surrounding a birch bark canoe. The canoe is propped up on a park bench next to a paddle, waiting to be placed in the river for its first time. This is an image from the birthing ceremony held for the traditional canoe called Enna that was crafted by Alex LaBelle under the guidance of his grandfather, Elder Marcel LaBelle. I chose to include this photograph because Alex and his grandfather were generous enough to come to Battle Library at Trent University for a month and to teach community members at Trent and the broader Nogojuanong community how to build the birch bark canoe, and then it included us in its birthing ceremony when it was launched into the water for the first time. I wanted to include this photo because I feel that it helps with that conversation that I think we're having, where we can truly foster learning environments where Indigenous knowledges, teachings, and research are honored as the important ways that they are to understand the world and to understand our responsibilities to truth, to reconciliation, and to decolonization as a way to make academic institutions truly accessible to everyone. Thank you. Next slide, Ellen, please.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, so today's agenda, I'm going to begin with a brief introduction to Trent and ACE. Allison will continue with the rationale for the ACE self-declaration form and the development and implementation of the form. And then I will close with promotion of the form and next steps. So a brief background about Trent University. The university has two campuses. The larger campus on which the university was established is located in Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, which is about 90 minutes northeast of Toronto. On this campus, we have almost 10,000 undergraduate students and a little over 1,000 graduate students. The other campus is located in Oshawa, which is in the Greater Toronto area. And it has about 2,500 undergraduate students and almost 250 graduate students. The library staff includes 9 librarians, which includes 1 UL, 6 permanent librarians, and 2 LTA. We have 1 archivist, 20 technical staff, and 2 managers. So a little bit of background about the library and its role in accessibility and providing services. An ACE coordinator, which has always been a librarian, has been in place since 2014. In 2023, while I was on sabbatical, Allison Ridgway assumed this role, and she also participated in the ACE assessment project. We don't have in-house digitization and remediation for accessibility, so the ACE service is really important to us. Until 2024, no librarian portfolio formally included accessibility, but now it's in my portfolio. And until that time, most accessibility supports were coordinated by library or departmental committees. So what is ACE? ACE is the Accessible Content e-portal with the acronym ACE. It is a service that was established in 2012 by Scholars Portal, which is a service of the Ontario Council of University Libraries with an acronym of OCUL, which provides library materials in accessible formats in the following alternate formats: color PDF, black and white PDF, DAISY, EPUB, and plain text. Who has access to ACE? Students, faculty, instructors, and staff at any participating ACE institution who hold an ACE token. So these institutions include all local universities as well as Ontario colleges. An ACE token is a unique alphanumeric code which allows for almost complete privacy. An ACE token holder is a person who has requested a token based on a perceptual disability, which in Canadian copyright law includes a disability that affects a person's ability to read or see literary works, such as books or articles, in their original print or physical format. And this includes severe or total impairment of sight or hearing, or the inability to focus or move one's eyes, the inability to hold or manipulate a book, or an impairment relating to comprehension. What can be digitized for ACE? Just about any print monograph owned by participating ACE institution libraries can be digitized, with the exception of course packs, personal copies, rare or delicate books, and library or archival materials that are not books, example, journal issues. Generally, ACE does not have textbooks since they quickly become outdated, and there is another service known as ARROW, the Alternate Education Resources Ontario service through the Ontario Ministry of Education, which provides some support for this type of material. And there is no restriction on subject matter. What is the ACE digitization request process at Trent? Well, it begins with a student or an instructor or staff member requesting a token via email or in person to either the library or student accessibility services. So traditionally, students needed to go first to student accessibility services. And there they are required to schedule an appointment and supply documentation. And we still do encourage this, that students go to SAS to bring awareness to other SAS sports. But the new way to request a digitization is through the self-declaration form, which Allison will speak in more detail to later. Students then submit a digitization request to the library, either directly to us or through an SAS advisor. The ACE coordinator submits the digitization request to ACE via an online form. The ACE processes the request, and ACE exists at Robarts Library at the University of Toronto. So ACE will either borrow the book from a participating institution or retrieve the book from the Internet Archive. If Trent is the only holding institution, we will send the book to ACE. So it must be owned by the library. It can't be a professor's personal copy. And on a few occasions, we have needed to purchase the print copy in order to send it to ACE. So the ACE coordinator is notified when the request is completed, usually within 1 to 3 weeks, who then notifies the student, instructor, or staff member. So on this slide, we have some statistics just showing the ACE use at Trent. There is a bar graph as well as a table. I won't describe all of the numbers, but I will talk about the 2023 statistics. For Trent, there were 35 ACE downloads. Compared to U of T, who had 906 downloads, compared to all of OCUL, which had 2,217 downloads. And this data is from the Scholars Portal dashboard. So similarly, on the next slide, we have some more statistics, a bar graph and a table illustrating the ACE digitization requests by year. For 2023, Trent had 20 digitization requests, U of T had 334, and OCUL had 1,053. Okay, so now I will pass it over to you, Allison, for rationale and motivations.
Thank you, Ellen. So this is Allison speaking again. So I'm going to discuss a bit about why we decided to find a way to create this second option for our Trent University community members to gain access to this ACE token and therefore gain access to the ACE repository, and why we decided to create a self-declaration form in collaboration with other departments at Trent University to do this. So as Ellen mentioned, in 2023, the Scholars Portal Operations and Development Committee created an assessment working group to identify the ACE services' strengths, barriers to use, and opportunities for further development. For anyone who's not familiar with it, Scholars Portal is a service of the Ontario Council of University Libraries, which is also called OCUL, and it provides various shared technology infrastructure and collections for its university library members that are within Ontario. ACE is one of these services. And so as a member of the ACE Assessment Working Group, part of this also inspired us to look internally at Trent about how we could further remove some of the barriers to eligible members, students, faculty, staff members, and other Trent University members who need access to ACE or who want access to ACE. So we found often in anecdotal experience of working particularly with students or with faculty members that often, particularly at the beginning of a semester, students may have trouble being able to book that appointment that they need with student accessibility services on time when they need their textbooks, or sorry, not their textbooks, their books for their classes. And other students may not even realize right away that they're eligible to book an appointment with SAS, or that they are eligible for receiving an ACE token and having access to all of these different books in accessible formats. So in particular, to save people time, because this was a large time barrier that we noticed for many, particularly incoming undergraduate students, new researchers, transfer students, and international students. We wanted a way for users to be able to simply self-declare a perceptual disability, which would be required, unfortunately, in order to use ACE under Canadian copyright law, but to make that, to remove as many barriers to that, such as barriers of having to book an appointment, barriers of having to provide medical documentation that may not be accessible to everyone, given that healthcare is not accessible to everyone. We also, of course, didn't want to take away from the very important role that student accessibility services plays for students, particularly because this is just one accommodation and service of many that they offer. So it was important for us to work with student accessibility services, which I'm going to shorten to SAS to save us a bit of time. It was important to work with us to ensure that this wasn't taking away from the work that they do. And we also found that it was important, this was an important area to support faculty, because we couldn't find at first a very clear way for eligible faculty members and staff members to easily and quickly receive an ACE token when they first join the Trent community. The Equity and Human Rights Office doesn't provide tokens, although they do work. They do provide many of the accessibility services for our staff members here. So this is another way that we can work with the Equity and Human Rights Office, as well as HR, to ensure users who need this service have access to it as soon as possible, because I think, as we all know, in this academic landscape, when you need that book or that text for your research, you often need it right away. So we want to remove as much of that delay as possible. Next slide, please, Ellen. So now I'm going to talk a bit about the process that we did for developing and implementing. And I'll try to get through this part quickly so that we can get to questions at the end as well. So we started off with with myself doing a very informal environmental scan of other members who use the Accessible Content e-repository, or ACE. And really what I was looking at is to determine if any other members are using a self-declaration form as one of the ways to get ACE tokens and access to users, as well as other methods that ACE institutions are using. So at the time of the scan that I did in 2023, I found that most institutions did provide tokens through student accessibility services rather than through the library, even though often libraries would mention ACE, or provide guidance on things like strategically searching ACE and downloading different formats and using different formats. Many libraries did provide this information as well on their websites. I did find, for example, the University of Guelph has a perceptual disability self-declaration and alternative format usage agreement as part of their alternate format request form. So when somebody needs to request material in an alternate accessible format, they would fill out this form, but it also includes the option to self-declare and receive a token that would grant them access to ACE that they can use for logging into ACE and searching it. So this really was what inspired our own self-declaration form, and we are still working on sort of stitching these two processes together of both how people can request something in an alternate format, as well as how they can apply at the same time to receive an ACE token. We also found that Sheridan College has an AODA, or ACE self-declaration form, that we also used. And I'm sure other institutions have likely done similar things, possibly after I did this environmental scan, or they did so more internally, and the form itself was not available to view publicly. So we'll go to the next slide, please, Ellen. And part of this, like I said, of course, was a partnership with Student Accessibility Services. We did initial fact-finding to find out how many users are registered to use the ACE Accessible Content e-portal, different pathways for users to access ACE and to learn how to use it, and the strengths, weaknesses, and the barriers to these different pathways for this service. And in particular, in talking with our colleagues in Student Accessibility Services, we found that the library can also do more to offer longer sessions with ACE users on how to search the database strategically, to find what they're looking for, to download and use different formats. So by becoming more active members and providing these ACE tokens through the self-declaration form, we're also able to offer to new users, if you're interested in meeting with one of us to go over how to use this new resource, if it's new to you, we're very happy to meet virtually or in person. And next slide, please, Ellen. So in developing the actual form, as well as our processes for collecting data, a significant collaboration to be able to do that was with information technology at Trent, the IT department, and in particular, developing an information security plan with them. So one of, I think, the huge benefits of the ACE portal is that by using this ACE token, which is a string of alphanumerical characters, we're able to largely anonymize what different users are looking up in the repository, what they're downloading, so that we don't see that on our end generally unless there is a request for new material to be digitized and added, and ACE won't be able to see which user is selecting which material, which is an important part of academic privacy for many academic researchers. And we also wanted to create a form where we were collecting the least amount of highly sensitive information possible. So for example, our form isn't collecting diagnoses, we're not collecting medical documentation. That's really the beauty of having a self-declaration form, I think. But it still does have to include some highly sensitive information just to be able for us to track who has a token and when that token expires and they need a new token. So that would include things like users' names, their emails, and their token numbers. And of course, checking the self-declaration checkbox that somebody does identify as having a perceptual disability. That in itself is also highly sensitive information that has to be protected. So we worked with IT to ensure that this information was being stored in a Microsoft form in our Office 365 environment that's highly secure, as well as being as any data being archived in a secure institutional repository. And next slide, please, Ellen. And then the last piece of this was, of course, our staff training as well. And this was a great opportunity to remind staff about the ACE portal and how to use it, how to do different searches in it and find materials, as well as to make sure our new staff members were aware of it and can help users who come to the desk who may want to access the form right away or who may need some help in searching and finding material or specific material within the repository. So we were able to join an all-personnel meeting to do a short workshop presentation on the new self-declaration form and ACE in general. And we've also worked with Student Accessibility Services to provide more fulsome workshops for everyone within the library on accessibility. Thank you.
And just letting you know, we have about 3 minutes left.
Okay, so we have included, so unfortunately the form itself is not available to members of the public. It is on our website that I'll link to in a moment, but we have included the preamble to the form in our slides. So if you go into the slides, you'll be able to find an accessible version of it there, as well as a list of all of the questions that we use in the form, if this is something that you're interested in taking a look at for your own institution, or if you have any recommendations, since this is still a very new to us process. Thank you. And we'll go on to the next slide.
Thanks, Allison. So quickly, I will talk about promotion. We have the information on our website. The form is linked on our website. We try to include information about all our accessibility supports, as well as the form in our information literacy workshops and library outreach events. We include this information in any departmental meetings with faculty or newsletters or communications that go to faculty. And we've recently created a library accessibility info card that will be sent in print and electronically to various departments around campus, including SAS, the Equity and Human Rights Office, college advisors, academic skills, etc. And here's a quick image of the card. And then lastly, next steps, further promotion, continued promotion. Of course, evaluation is important. We have only had one person use the form so far. So as the form is used more, we will explore how we could evaluate the form and the process. We are also thinking about integrating digitization requests within our discovery system, Omni, and what it looks like for the form to be linked there. And we are also thinking about outreach events focused on accessible formats and accessibility topics where we can talk about ACE and the form. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Ellen and Allison, thank you so much for such a great session. We are kind of out of time for questions, but we do have a few in the Q&A box. If either of you are willing to answer them there, I'm sure that would be much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.